Hey everyone, this is WP Product Talk, the place where every week we interview an experienced WordPress product owner on the strategies and tips and experiences, failures and successes of running successful and thriving WordPress product businesses. I'm Matt Cromwell, co-founder of GiveWP and Senior Director of Customer Experience at StellarWP.
And I'm Zach Katz, founder of Gravity Kit and Trusted Login.
And today's topic is paid advertising for WordPress products, the why and the how.
And this is a great topic because paid advertising is a part of any holistic marketing plan. So if you don't have paid advertising in there, this is the talk for you.
Yeah. We might do the why and the how and the problematic aspects. We might throw a little curveball in there. So we'll see. But to talk about it with us today is a colleague and good friend of mine, Drew Griswold. This is Drew. Drew, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Matt and Zach. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Drew, tell the world a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Why do you do it? Where do you do it from? All that kind of fun stuff.
For sure. I'm Drew Griswold. I'm the director of outbound marketing for StellarWP. So I came up through GiveWP. So me and Matt worked closely together there. Now I oversee the advertising and events for all of the StellarWP brands. So I am based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, currently talking to you from Iowa City, Iowa. And really happy to be here and lend some insights into the world of paid advertising.
Awesome. Thanks so much. For
anybody who's watching the live stream, feel free to comment. Hello, Amber. Hello, Michelle. Anybody else hop on the comments and ask questions. Drew's here to answer your questions as well.
Absolutely. And if you're on Twitter, or I don't even want to call it, I guess X.
If you're Xing on X, yeah.
If you're Xing on X, we do use the hashtag WP Product Talk, and I'll be watching there as well. So I'm just pulling it up. The whole experience of like dealing with this weird rebrand that they did just makes me feel weird. Cool. So jumping in. First thing we always like to talk about is why is this subject so important to WordPress product owners in particular. I was really excited for us to discuss this because as I have just talked about different marketing tactics that we've employed at Give and at Stellar, broadly speaking, I have often heard product owners say, I tried ads and they sucked, so I stopped doing it. And it resonated a lot with my own experience in some ways before I brought on Drew, actually. And I think in many ways that's the case, is that a lot of times we don't know what we don't know as product owners. And we're not born and bred in a paid advertising world. And so because we're not good at it, we just quit. And at the end of the day, it just ends up kind of being a missed opportunity. So I think it's a great one to talk about because it's definitely a funnel and an area that when you excel and you do it well, it's super helpful and beneficial. It rounds out the whole experience of your sales tactics. So that's my take. Drew, you're the expert though, honestly. So what's your take? Why is this so important to talk about for WordPress product owners?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I think paid advertising can be a successful tactic for multiple different phases of the customer journey, multiple different phases of your business's journey. For a lot of folks, it might be your growth has kind of plateaued a little bit and you're looking for ways to scale beyond X amount of active installs or something like that. For some folks, it might be just getting your name out there and making sure that your brand recognition is higher. But advertising is a really effective way to make sure that you have control over what people are receiving about your product and not just your organic audience. So I think there's a place for advertising in every type of business, and there's a place for advertising in every part of the business's journey forward and with their growth, if that made sense.
Absolutely. That's really true. Zach, what's your take?
Well, my take is that ads are a great complement to SEO. Like we talked last week about SEO, or 2 weeks ago about SEO, and how important that is to your business. But SEO takes a while. Organic traffic takes a while to build up. So Drew was saying that it takes pay-per-click and advertising is good when you've reached a SEO plateau, but it's also good before you even start climbing that hill. It's a great way to get traffic. It's a great way to get eyeballs on a specific product that you've just released or a specific feature you want to bring attention to. It's a great way to get traffic to your site without needing to work on it beyond setting up the ads. So I think it's a really important complement to SEO for any business.
I like that. That's a really important aspect too, for sure. I kind of want to maybe do a little bit of lay of the land a little bit for folks who might not be tons really experienced here. There's two big caveats, or not caveats, aspects of paid advertising that, Drew, I'd love if you might elucidate it for us a little bit. When we talk about, like, sometimes people talk about paid ads in the terms of like, you just spend and you get conversions, and if you just start spending more, you'll get more conversions. That's true, right? That's basically how it works. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then the next one, just so you know, is going to be more about like different types of paid spend. So.
Yeah, I wish that it was creating a machine that prints more money the more money you feed into it, but that's not always the case. I think that ads can accelerate something that is already effective, or like Zach said, it could shed more light onto certain things. We use paid ads to test landing pages. We have a new page, and we want to make sure we get a lot of traffic there quickly to see how it's performing, things like that. But there is definitely a point where you get diminishing returns. It doesn't mean if you spend $1 million, you're going to make $2 million just because when you spent $50, you made $100. I think part of understanding that balance between where you want your spend to be and what you could expect your return to be is just experimenting, having a plan, making sure that you're monitoring your spend and everything like that. But it's definitely not something that I would anticipate is an unlimited growth mechanism right off the bat necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So then the other one that, when we're talking about paid advertising, I think most folks think immediately about Google ads that show up at the top of search. But there's a wide variety of ways to do paid advertising. Can you talk about that a little bit? Talk about the different avenues that we've talked about internally?
Yeah, just within the Google ecosystem, there's a ton of different types of ads, just between display ads, search ads, video ads, and it goes way further down the rabbit hole. You have Gmail, inbox ads, things like that. It's the internet, so any available real estate has been monetized. Apologies for the lawnmower that just went by, if you could hear that.
We didn't hear it. No worries.
But essentially, I think a really easy way to think of it is you have search ads, which can be based off of intent. Someone is actively searching something, and you could choose to interject your product based off of the intent they've expressed through their search. And then there's display ads, will be a little bit more interruptive, I guess is not the coolest way to say it, but it's you're putting your ad in front of someone on their feed that you think is going to be interested in that. For Stellar, we really focus quite a bit on Google and Facebook. Google being that search intent-based advertising, and Facebook being that display interruption-based advertising where you're placing a visual on their feed. I think that's a pretty easy way to think about it, but it's a very generalized way of thinking about it, because just with Google, you have display ads, you have, as I mentioned, a whole different variety of options just within their ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. We've also experimented a little bit with like paid placements and other types of publications. I feel like we've been a little bit less successful on that front, but it's also can be an interesting opportunity. Yeah,
And
Definitely.
podcast sponsorships.
Things like that. I think that it depends where your goals lie, where you want to reach people. But there's unlimited different ways to spend money to get placements. That is for sure.
Zach, do you have some like creative, interesting paid placements that you've done?
Yeah, it's so hard to know what your audience. So part of what Facebook does automatically, for example, is say like use lookalike groups, and they say, okay, somebody who's purchased your product, they also like this, this, and this, and there are some people that kind of look like your customer from an activity standpoint, and you can say, I want to market to them, I want a lookalike group, I want to advertise to this group. But if you're just going off of instinct, I think that's also kind of okay. With Gravity View, for example, we did a paid advertisement on an Apple industry blog called appleworld.today. And I did this in 2014 or 2015 or something. And I did some fun graphic with the Apple campus that they were building at the time that Johnny Ive had designed. And I had a mascot like popping out of there. And it was a throwaway ad that I didn't know that it would actually work. It cost like $150. And over the course of years, it brought in like $1,500. So you never know. And that was just me saying, like, I like this blog. I see this blog every day. I want to see my own product on there. So sometimes you just got to try things and see how they work. And I think that that's the most fun for me for paid advertising, is being like, well, this is a kooky idea. Let's try it and see if it works. And making sure that you have the tracking and stuff is important, but just see what works. There's a creative aspect to advertising that I don't think people should let go of.
Yeah, interesting.
Certainly. And one thing I'll interject about the lookalike audiences, like that is something that Facebook definitely will push very aggressively, and it could be incredibly effective if you have a large amount of input data to inform their audience building. If you're a smaller brand that doesn't have a ton of conversion data, particularly on Facebook, it's not going to necessarily give the signals that you want, and it's not always going to be the most effective if you're not a larger brand that has a lot of customer history on the Facebook platform.
And so much of Facebook is waiting for them to train their models so that they can get the right target. So that you'll hear on Facebook, you'll pay a lot of money, and then they'll say, we need to keep on training this, so keep on paying us because we're not really dialed in yet. So your cost per click is still higher than we expect it to be, and you just keep on paying. And at some point, it's got to just be trained, right? But
the dreaded learning phase. I think they typically say that they need 50 conversions for the ad to get out of the learning phase and into the active distribution phase. My experience with Facebook is that we've had some incredibly effective ads that have never exited the learning phase. It does seem, I mean, Matt and I have talked quite a bit. Some of these platforms can be quite mafioso in their mafia-esque in their tactics to get you to spend more. Like, oh, you're doing really well, it's going to stop if you don't spend more, in things kind of like that. But the learning phase thing, I'm never really afraid of the learning phase. We've had ads that have performed so well in the learning phase for the entire duration of their display life.
Yeah, same here.
We have a nice comment from one of our co-hosts, Amber Hines is here. We've had so much better luck sponsoring email newsletters and paying for ads in those. I think that's an interesting take for sure. I guess it depends a lot on the product and the audience of those newsletters in particular. But have you done any paid sponsorships and newsletters, Zach?
I have sponsored in the past. I sponsored a podcast feed on Daring Fireball, another Apple industry blog, but that wasn't successful and it was very expensive. I haven't done email newsletter sponsorship as much, but I have done it. Yeah.
I think it's always interesting, especially because you think about the reach that email newsletters can have potentially, but they also seem to be a bit of like a really quick hit, and that then diminish really quickly. Whereas with search ads and whatnot, they can kind of be there all the time and things like that. To that mafia aspect, like even like I have such a hard time still constantly having to pay for branded search ads, and Drew's heard me complain about this so much. It's definitely like I have to pay for GiveWP to show up at the top of the search for a GiveWP branded term, because if I don't, then Classy does or somebody else does. I just hate that, but it's literally the way it works. I don't know, Zach, have you had experiences like that too?
Yeah, it's always hard to justify there. It's the question of like, what would you pay to be at the top of the search result for your own name? And apparently the answer is like $1.50 a click. And it's galling, but it also is nice to know that they landed exactly where we hoped that they would.
Yeah.
And if you design, for product owners out there, if you are designing a campaign that is targeted toward your own brand name, I heard this from our pay-per-click specialists. They said to create a separate Google campaign for your branded keywords, and that can help reduce the cost per click, as opposed to mixing it in with your other keywords. So if you have a separate campaign, they have seen better performance for cost.
And that's another great piece of advice for budget control as well. So you can make sure that you're not spending 100% of your PPC budget just on your branded terms, which is really easy to happen if you're letting Google's algorithm do the deciding for you. Like, oh, we're going to funnel it all to this really well-performing campaign of people that might have clicked on it anyways. We try to never spend more than about 15% of our budgets on branded traffic. But particularly for the StellarWP brands, we do have a really alarming amount of other brands that are bidding on our brand term. So if you search Give WP, there's going to be 4 or 5 other competitors that are trying to get that traffic. So there's a ton of value in bidding on your branded terms, but definitely spin it off into its own campaign so you could monitor it much more closely. Another thing is
Seems like Drew's having a connection issue. Drew,
Yep.
Can you repeat that sentence, please?
Nope. Do you have me back?
Yep, you're back.
Great. I was mentioning broad match keywords is something that you really want to watch as much as possible too. Google's going to tell you, switch everything to broad match, and there's a lot of times where it regresses back to your brand terms. So you want to make sure that you're really keeping an eye on what their broad matches are doing to make sure that you're not just bidding on branded traffic.
One of the things that is really important when you're just getting started is to keep a very close look at all the keywords that people are clicking on and start building your negative keyword list fast, because you're going to find a lot of keywords that you're like, oh, this is absolutely not related. This is, you want to exclude words like free or nulled or like cracked, like things that obviously people are just trying to get your product for free. You're going to find all sorts of things, including areas of the world which has ethical question marks around it. But I found Southeast Asia, I had to exclude it because I was getting so much spam clicks, no conversions, thousands of clicks, and I found that to be really spammy. So I disabled that zone in Google. But build up your negative keywords fast, because otherwise you're going to pay a lot more money than you would otherwise.
That's good insight. We have another stellar right here in the comment section, and a former guest of the show, actually, Michelle Frechette. Monitor your ads, especially on Facebook. Watch those replies. People who will comment negatively or with nasty photos because they don't want ads on Facebook, or they don't want to see non-white people in ads. Oh, that's a good and terrible call out. I mean, people get really gripey when they have advertisements in their free social media platforms. It's really fascinating to me how entitled and upright and affronted people will feel when an ad gets served into their news feed. Drew, what's your take on comments on Facebook ads?
One thing I always try to remember is these comments that could seem overwhelmingly negative still a lot of times do help your delivery. Hate comments are still interactions. Obviously, you want to hide them to make sure that you don't have these terrible things associated with your brand. But you don't want to just go through and delete anything that's potentially if it's terrible, obviously delete it. But if it's just someone saying like, oh, I hate Facebook ads or something like that, you could always hide it and kind of ignore it and thank them for the contribution to the interaction score that will raise it in people's feeds. We had an occasion back in a former life running my e-commerce business where we had one ad that went ridiculously viral, where it had, I think 80,000 shares, about 400,000 likes on this one ad.
Wow.
And the amount of comments that were negative were just overwhelming. And it was just because it was a guy with long hair, and all the girls loved him and all the guys hated him. But it got really aggressive really quickly. but we just kind of keep reminding ourselves, like, hey, these are interactions which the algorithm doesn't necessarily discern if they're positive or negative. But it's a great call out. Michelle does an amazing job with the StellarWP ads, making sure that we are filtering out the terrible comments. But if you're getting hate comments on your ads, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means that Facebook ad commenters are typically some of the worst folks on the internet.
Yeah, it's a unique aspect of ads, both on Facebook and on formerly known as Twitter. I think that's what I'm going to call them, formerly known as Twitter. Like that'll be the go-to.
Yeah, the dumpster fire formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, but I do find myself often, not often, sometimes looking into the comments of ads because I'll see an ad that I'm like, oh, that's a dumb ad, and then there'll be like 500 comments. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Um, but being on the other side of that is a different story.
And Drew, how do you approach creating an ad? Like when it comes to tone and like, what's your take on different ads for different spaces, like social media versus pay per click? Like, how do you sculpt an ad campaign for Facebook versus for Google?
I think it depends a lot on the product. One of the first things that I do if I'm looking for ideas for a campaign, particularly on Facebook, is go to their ad library. Something that people don't realize is all of the ads that run on Facebook are on an ad library where you could look at every single piece of creative that every one of your competitors is running as part of their transparency efforts. So
Hmm.
if we have a company where we really admire the way that they present themselves in their paid advertising, it's really easy to type that company in and look at what types of ads they're running. It's a great source of motivation, information, but I think it really depends on what your goals are, what the brand ideals are, a number of things. But that's kind of my first step is looking what our competitors that we respect are doing out there, and that could inform a lot of the ways that you want to move forward.
Absolutely, it's a good point. Let's jump into. I think we've already been doing this a bit, but talking about our personal experiences in general, we've been highlighting them a few times already. But I'd love to hear more detailed accounts. Drew, looks like you have a couple interesting stories here. Tell us about your experience here.
Yeah, instead of telling you about my past 5 years of buying and selling ads and on doing all these things, I'll tell you how I got into paid advertising. And that was, I was running an e-commerce brand that was doing remarkably well. And the first thing that you do when you start doing well is you want to do really well, and then you want to do really, really well, and you just want to keep adding zeros to the end of your sales months and keep breaking records. So I enthusiastically enlisted the help of an agency to help me scale my paid advertising budgets to a point where I thought that I would be satisfied. Um, it ended up being a horrific failure. What amounted to be a sales scam, essentially, where we spent about $80,000 on an agency that did absolutely nothing except for testing and testing and testing, and I didn't know any better. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, this is a really common story with small businesses where they hire
Mhm.
someone. Paid advertising is such an easy thing for people to make big promises, and it's really easy to obfuscate the successes and the failures and just say, well, we're learning, but that thing I promised you is just around the corner, just keep doing it. The beauty of having these conversations like this is I'm not trying to sell anybody anything, but definitely approach anybody that's promising you big results with a healthy dose of skepticism. The agency that we had hired essentially burned about $80,000 in ad spend, not including their agency fees to get everything set up. And I was so frustrated with realizing how foolish that I had been, that I kind of locked myself in my RV, which was my home at the time. Um, by choice, not by necessity. I always like to point that out. And got
Was it
every
down by a
cert.
river? Was it an
y-
RV down? Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
never heard that one. That's for sure. Um, yeah, so I locked myself in, and I kind of just got every certification that I possibly could in one weekend, and I learned everything there was that I could theoretically learn about ads. And I started running the ads myself that Monday. There's free resources out there to teach you how to do all of these things. You don't need to buy some guru's course. You don't need to hire a big expensive agency. All of the resources to have success are out there. And it was a really great feeling that Monday after just getting burned for what our business was a lot of money, to go out there and have success doing it myself and realizing that this isn't unattainable. There's a lot of abbreviations. There's a lot of big words. There's a lot of confusion. It's a fast evolving marketplace. So it could be really hard to keep a tab on everything that's happening. But that's kind of how I got into ads, as I got burned by an agency that was being dishonest about what their efforts were. I learned as much as I could, and then I started doing it. I did not realize that was going to lead me down a path of doing paid advertising for the next 6-7 years, and eventually doing paid advertising for StellarWP. But that's life. So happy to be here, and it's something that I taught myself, and I always encourage people, before you think about hiring someone to do your ads, learn as much as you can and try them yourself, because it's not as insurmountable as it might seem at face value.
That's awesome. I mean, that mirrors a lot of WordPress stories for entrepreneurs who built products. Like they were like, I want to build something for my church or whatever, and it sucked. And I hired somebody and they were terrible. And so I just decided I'm going to figure this out on my own, lock myself in my RV down by the river and make it happen. Sorry. And yeah, I think it's amazing that you can learn that, because I see a lot of snake oil when I go and I look around for advertising help and resources and whatnot. I find a lot of snake oil, but you found a lot of really good resources, which I think is amazing.
And another thing I'll just add to that really quickly is, with paid advertising, there's always going to be a metric that could make it look really good. The big one that I always default to, impressions. If they say, well, look at how many impressions we got. It's like impressions on the internet really don't mean anything. And that's I'll try to make that the most unpopular thing that I say over the next half hour. But it's really easy when you're spending, especially medium to large amounts of money, to find metrics that make it look like a success when it's still not moving the needle. So it's just something to look out for.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, Drew, that you said, anybody can go out there and learn, and all it took was a whole weekend and a lot of brain space, and now you know. And I'm here to tell the other people who are like, I cannot do that, I have no brain space. I'm here to tell you, just hire somebody if you don't have the brain space. Like, yes, you can learn it. Like, you can learn anything, and there's a lot to learn, and your brain will get saturated with it, and it'll take up a lot of your brain space. So if that's a blocker for you, reach out to an agency, find somebody to do it for you, and learn what you can, learn enough to know what they're doing. But it was for me, I had set up a pay-per-click advertising campaign. I hired somebody else to manage it because it became too much. I knew that it was just taking too much of my space. And so both sides are true. Regardless of how you're doing it, look into it. It's an important thing.
I mean, in many ways, it depends highly on your priority in terms of your business and your marketing tactics. Like same thing, like how important is your email list to you? Are you going to spend a ton of time working on gaining subscribers and generating email content and doing automations? You could do that as a product owner. Or are you going to spend a lot more time on the product in particular? It's all a matter of balancing things between where you see the most return on your time into your business. But I do think when it comes to hiring or contracting, I mean, like Drew said, I think that the potential for actually hiring somebody who might not deliver a whole lot of great results is very high from what I've seen.
You could go to somewhere, and I'm just throwing out there, like Fiverr, and hire somebody to set up a really bare bones campaign for you, and then you can go in there and edit it. It's kind of the equivalent of having ChatGPT create a rough draft of something for you, and then actually going in there and reworking it to be sounding like what you want. So getting anything on in a campaign and basic target keywords and cost per click setup is a huge win. And getting started is the key, I think.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And not everybody has the luxury to be able to lock themselves in an RV for a weekend, as I mentioned. I do
The
recommend,
luxury.
some of the free tools that are out there, I think are still valuable, even if you plan on hiring someone, just so you know that you're asking the right questions and you know what red flags to look out for. And if you hire someone that gets frustrated by you asking too many questions, I think that's a really good signal that you should pivot who you hired to do your paid ads, because you
Absolutely.
should have a lot of questions just on the abbreviations alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Zach, I'd love to hear about your personal experiences on this front.
Yeah, so at Gravity View, we had been doing pay-per-click from the very beginning, because I started with pay-per-click before I created Gravity View, to send traffic to Gravity Forums as an affiliate before they had a rule that prevented that. So I had been making money on pay-per-click. I knew it was effective, and I was like, okay, I'm going to implement this at Gravity View. So we used pay-per-click a lot early on, and we were making $1 for every 70 cents that we spent. So I just kept on pouring money onto pay-per-click, and it kept on giving us more money. But over time, Google just milked us, and the return on investment became less and less, and it became harder and harder to find months where pay-per-click was really making a difference, moving that dial. And I turned it off, and I didn't really notice a difference. So that was my Google experience. When Google started going downhill, I started trying Facebook campaigns and doing remarketing pixels, where you embed a pixel on your website and Google connects it to the traffic that goes through their own ads, so you can track conversions and stuff. But then some changes happened in the industry where Apple especially made it more difficult to track those conversions and to identify where those conversions were coming from. And so in our analytics, it just said like that it was unassigned traffic resulting in the conversions. And my pay-per-click people that I was hiring at the time said, oh yeah, that's probably Facebook. And I was like, yeah, well, that's probably a question, isn't it? Like, who knows where these are coming from? But then when January 6th happened in the United States, and it was clear that Facebook really had fed the flames, and throughout the Trump administration, regardless of your political affiliation, Facebook was not putting out some extreme language. And it became clear to me that ethically I could no longer support Facebook through advertising. So we turned off our Google ads, we turned off our Facebook ads, and it's been fine. I do miss it sometimes when I see some amazing Stellar ads, and I do see some amazing Stellar ads. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could run a Gravity Kit ad like that. But it's okay. I'm standing my ground, and it's our SEO investment has helped, and that's why it's part of a larger picture of like, how do you want to communicate your brand to the world?
Yeah, there. And we talked about this like pre-show kind of thing that we might that Zach might throw in the moral dilemma a little bit, and I thought it was worth spending a little bit of time on, because I mean, a lot of folks, especially in the WordPress space, WordPress folks are really savvy to how technology works and how these things work. And like, but sometimes also they're also very, I would say, what's the best way to say it? Thin-skinned about certain stuff. And I think just advertising, sometimes like affiliate marketing is just like a 4-letter word in the WordPress space sometimes. And paid advertising sometimes is as well. And I I can say from our perspective, it is like, I don't know. I've also had a bit of a weird curve with my feelings about how advertising is even done. Like, there's the whole dilemma of like, folks don't like getting targeted advertising, and I keep saying, but I promise you that you like untargeted advertising even less. And so there's a way in which, like, if you want to just get like random ads that are definitely not for you, then definitely turn off all your cookies and block all your things, and then you'll have a horrible experience on all the social media platforms.
And I do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a choice that you make, you know. But if you want to like actually get ads that might actually be somewhat interesting to you in one way or another, then you have to understand that that is done with targeted advertising, which does involve cookies and things like that. And but the extent to which Facebook and Google in particular are willing and able and even like pushing to grab that data in every single nook of the internet that they possibly can has been a bit like mind staggering, I would say. And like where people draw the line on whether or not to advertise on a certain platform is also highly contentious. Like honestly, we haven't spent on the give side, we haven't spent on Twitter in a couple of years now, I think, Drew, right? Or actually, I think we have done a few job posting related spend there because there is a ton of WordPress folks there. But it is a contentious one. Drew, what's your take? Like, how do you balance like the evilness of the platforms versus the benefit of the platforms?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think the important thing to remember is anything that I say is going to be horrendously biased because I'm the guy that watches the Super Bowl for the commercials, genuinely. And I don't think you can. I don't want to speak in definitives, but you'd be hard pressed to find a platform that doesn't have some sort of ethical question about if it's using your data in an appropriate way. I could probably be corrected by that. But Twitter's a perfect example of that. Is Twitter an ethical place to place advertising in its current state? It might be. It might be. It depends on your business. It depends on your views on everything. I think it's just up to each individual business to decide where they do draw the line. When the Facebook, one of the things with Facebook, I was alarmed at how much blowback Facebook got in particular compared to a Google. Because from my perspective, Google is so much more powerful and so much scarier in a lot of ways than what Facebook was doing. Um, but to me personally, I prefer a highly customized advertising experience. I don't mind if my email address is shared with certain advertisers that are sharing relevant information with me. But I completely understand why people wouldn't want to be targeted by ads and wouldn't want their personal data to be the product that Facebook is selling. Um,
Yeah,
I think it just lies with each individual person and each individual brand to decide with what they're comfortable with.
for sure. There's
Brands need
also
to.
the whole slippery slope argument of like if everyone bails from the platform, then all that's left there is the vile things that nobody wants to put up with, which maybe that's one way of like getting folks off the platform. But that's also a great way to like create echo chambers of like potentially harmful, dangerous things. So I don't know.
And that's a consideration for brands. If X is a safe haven for Nazis, do you want your brand on X? And
Yeah,
that is both the variable and the platform. If Facebook is if you're finding that the comments are angry, maybe I also internalize that if the proportion of comments are angry is high, maybe I should change my ad, or maybe I should like how people interface with my brand is important to me. So paying
yeah,
attention to how people react to it, you're paying for their attention, so pay attention to how they react to it. And if they aren't having a good reaction to it, maybe something is off with your campaign, whether it be the platform or the marketing angle itself.
absolutely. Yep. We actually have an interesting little back channel convo here about uh, ad advisors in these platforms as well. I thought that was worth highlighting because it is another source of potential source of help. It can be. So Drew, in particular, has told me often that he does the calls with the reps, and they're usually a waste of time. But then the time I hear about the most is when he has a conversation with somebody who's amazing. Drew, do you want to talk a little bit about these folks? Facebook will send you folks who want to talk about ads. Google will send you folks who want to talk about your ads. Is that a resource for folks?
It absolutely can be. I think if you approach every conversation with a healthy dose of skepticism, it could be a really effective way to learn about new tools that you didn't realize they had, or different tactics that they suggest that work. But largely, the purpose of those reps is to make sure that you're maximizing your spend on their platform.
Yeah.
And it would be amazing to me if you ever meet with a rep for the first time and they told you that your budget was sufficient and you shouldn't increase it. So I like to approach those conversations with a healthy amount of skepticism, and most of the time I've found not a ton of value in the things that they're suggesting. And then I think one of the big frustrations, if people are keeping track of their reps, is Google, I think, switches every quarter, and you'll have one rep tell you to do one thing, and then a quarter later they'll tell you to do the exact opposite thing, and then a quarter later they'll tell you to do something completely out of left field. There's not a whole lot of consensus just amongst their reps, which to me doesn't lend a whole lot of confidence to the directions they choose. So approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism. I think they could be really effective resources to learn about the product, but they are going to try to get you to spend more money, is my experience.
Zach, what about you? Have you had success talking with those folks?
I've had good success one or two times, and then really not great success probably 3 or 4 times. And they will pester you. If you sign up for any of these ad platforms, you will get a lot of email. So at some point, I recommend getting on a call just to experience what, like Drew was saying, what they have to say about their own platform, because it's interesting what they're pushing. And they'll want you to let them handle the payments. Just like, trust us, we'll set the prices. It'll work out for you the best. It'll be way better. It's like an automatic transmission instead of a manual transmission. Just, it's so much easier. We'll do it more efficiently anyway. Just leave it to us. And lo and behold, my ad spend went way up, and the conversions did not. So there's not always good advice there, but either way, you will learn the platform better because they'll be on the phone. They'll guide you through it. They'll help you set up, advanced keyword lists they'll help you discover the platform in ways you hadn't before.
Yeah. One other kind of tactic convo I'd like to do before we wrap up. Drew and I have also talked a lot about the difference between ads that are designed for conversion and other ads that are actually designed just for traffic. Not really for impressions. We really have steered away from impression only type of stuff, but like traffic driving stuff, maybe lead generation type stuff versus conversion oriented stuff. Drew, do you want to lean into that? I know that Drew loves the conversion oriented stuff and he would spend everything there if he could. But can you needle that out a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's different roles that advertising plays in each part of the customer journey, and it doesn't have to stop with purchase. You could have a really effective, strong post-purchase advertising campaign that does any number of things. And designing those ads for different things is just important to keep in mind as you approach it. If your goal is to get traffic, then you want to make it eye-grabbing. If your goal is to do a post-purchase cross-sell or something, or an upsell post-purchase, then you should have that in mind as you're designing the ad. But I do think that you need to consider where the customer is in the journey when you're designing the ads. And if they don't know about your business at all, then you don't want to ask them to buy it. If you're approaching a cold audience and saying, hey, buy this, it's most likely, especially with a high consideration product like most WordPress plugins, it's most likely not going to work super well in your favor. So you want to consider where people are at in the buying journey when you're designing your ads for sure.
Excellent. Yeah.
And there's a big difference. There's a big difference between branding campaigns and conversion campaigns, where you might want to just have people get your brand in their head. Just see, there's that saying that it takes like 7 times of seeing something before you remember it. So just getting those impressions, it's getting in somebody's noggin somehow. It's getting in there. When they see Gravity Kit, maybe they will think of us more easily next time when they're trying to remember Gravity Forms add-ons. Like, that association is something you can build on social media quite easily. But the pricing for a branding campaign and the return on investment is going to be very different, and you're not going to be happy with the cost that you're spending until months down the line, when that person may or may not have been impressed by the impression that they had on your ad.
Absolutely. Yeah. Drew, you also earlier talked about that we do like 15% of branded search. Are there other percentages that are important to think about? Is there a percentage about traffic versus conversion or middle of funnel or retargeting or any of those types of things that are helpful guidelines for folks?
Yeah, I think, I still oftentimes will revert to the idea of an advertising program as a funnel where you have the prospecting up top, retargeting, and then purchase ads at the bottom, and then having even beyond that post purchase ads. It's a heated conversation that I've had with lots of different folks just within Stellar. How much money do we want to be spending on retargeting versus prospecting? Again, I'll give the political answer of it depends on the brand, it depends on where you are in your advertising program. If you're just getting started, I think I would recommend that you spend the bulk of maybe 60+% of your advertising budget on prospecting, and then spend 40% on retargeting or something like that. Um, and as you move along, you could kind of tweak those numbers and increase the retargeting as you get more traffic or something like that. I definitely suggest you spend more on prospecting off the bat than retargeting, unless you're in a situation where you do have an alarming amount of organic traffic and you're just trying to recapture some of that intent. Then that's a different story. But the equation's different for every situation, for sure. And there's no magic answer. It's going to be a different thing that works for everybody.
Absolutely. Nice. Well, this was actually really helpful. I like the way that we needled out a lot of the kind of aspects of it, even the moral dilemma of some of it. A lot of tips along the way. The way we always wrap up every episode, though, is by giving our best advice to new product folks. So these are small shops that are just getting started. Maybe have never done paid advertising before ever. What's our best advice to them? Me personally, I have one marketing mantra I have is success by 1,000 cuts, which is that I want to make sure that I am doing all the things across all the opportunities available. And paid advertising is definitely one of the things that you have to do. Anytime that somebody is jumping into marketing their product and they're focusing only exclusively on email, I'm always saying that's a great start. Just start getting into content a lot better. Start getting into SEO. Start getting into paid advertising. Start getting into video, all kinds of stuff. Because in order to really have a big pile of accumulated momentum and success, you really got to do all the things. In that big pile of things, I have seen way too often that paid advertising just gets completely ignored. So don't ignore it. Jump straight into it head first. I would start personally with traffic ads and make sure that you go into them with specific goals in mind. Like you have a piece of content that you really want people to learn about, like something that might be a really great introduction to your brand, and make sure that you're using good, strong UTMs on those links so you could track the success of that. And that there's some sort of engagement aspect in that content. Like maybe there's an email opt-in, or maybe there's a link that goes somewhere else in your site. And that when you do that spend, you're evaluating the effectiveness of your targeting based on whether or not they opted in or whether or not they click to the next link or any of those types of things. That to me is a nice, clean, easy way to start seeing if you can actually do targeted advertising in a way that's effective, and then grow from there. That's me. Zach, you got a bunch here that I think are great.
Yeah, I think that one thing that it's easy to do is set up these campaigns and have your ads linked to your homepage or a product page and say, well, that's my homepage, that's my product page, it's good enough. I recommend setting up landing pages that are targeted specifically for the type of ad that you're running, and make sure that you are talking to the customer in the way that they expect the way that their attention is. Like Drew was saying, not everything is equal when it comes to the purpose of an ad. So if the ad is learn about this specific product, then you better have it about this product and not have it point to the homepage. But the landing pages are really important. Split tests, you do A/B tests. Google Optimize is going away. I think it's getting rolled into GA4 or something like that. But Google Optimize has been really easy to set up, like surprisingly easy. So point the traffic at that page, split test, try different things. You never know what's going to work. Some kooky ideas might be the right one. Even like YouTube ads, some strange YouTube ad might be the right solution for your brand. And YouTube ad for us was a pile of cash that we set on fire. So find out what it works for you, have a budget and experiment, because that's for me the fun part as a creative act that has a possibility of making you money.
I did not see that ad. You're going to have to post a link to that somewhere.
We had at some point been known for our music videos, and
Yes,
our music
that
videos were
one
not
I
necessarily
know.
were not overly informative, and they were not conversion machines on I just was like, well, I want to have those as ads on YouTube. It was more a branding exercise, and I don't know that it was a good fit.
The WordPress wiggle, that one's going down in WordPress infamy. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Wiggle.fun is the domain name, by the way.
Oh, fun. I did not know that. That's awesome. Drew, wrap us up. What is your best advice for new folks getting into paid advertising?
I think it boils down to having a plan and measuring everything. And underneath those, as two other things, is, part of having a plan is having a budget. Don't go into it. Did I lose you guys?
Nope.
Can you still? Oh, sorry. I think I froze. So part of that is having a budget, making sure that you're not going into it with a bucket with a hole in the bottom and you're just dumping more and more water into it. So making sure that you have a budget and you have a calculated approach, and then measuring everything. A big part of that is making sure that you have all of your tracking technology settled, making sure that your Facebook pixel is installed correctly, make sure your universal event tracking tag is installed correctly, making sure that you know your way around Tag Manager and you have all your variables set up correctly. One of the biggest mistakes that's really, really easy to make is having your tracking set up improperly and then burning a ton of money pointing the algorithm in the wrong direction. Any platform. And then a big part of both of those is learn as much as you can. The free resources that are out there, even if you're not intending on advertising on Facebook, Facebook's Blueprint class is a really great way to learn about different advertising platforms. And that information is going to extrapolate out to a lot of different platforms that aren't just Facebook. And then Google Grow is another one. Grow with Google. There's a whole different section of resources. Become a really good digital marketer, some of them pertaining to their platform and some of them that aren't pertaining to their platform. So use the resources that are out there to establish the plans and make sure you're measuring everything and testing as much as you possibly can.
Awesome.
All right, so next week, thank you, Drew. Next week on WP Product Talk, we're going to be discussing how acquiring products can boost your business with special guest Keenan Copenhaver. So tune in for that episode.
Absolutely. And thanks again so much, Drew, Director of Outbound Marketing. I think I posted your title wrong. I'm terrible. Jeez.
It's okay. Just apologize to my boss whose title you gave me in your Facebook post.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much again to Post Status for being our green room where we organize all these things in general. This time it was actually the WordPress Slack, actually. And hit like, hit subscribe, share stuff with your friends, and everybody. We'll see you all next week. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks.